Leaders of a pro-Trump group allegedly out to stop fraud, in this case, voter fraud, is being accused of their own kind of fraud. According to a complaint filed to the IRS, conservative activists Catherine Engelbrecht and Gregg Phillips allegedly used their nonprofit group, True the Vote, to personally enrich themselves while spreading nonsense election conspiracy theories. Wonderful. Now, this is, again, according to a complaint from the nonprofit watchdog group Campaign for Accountability, who has called for an investigation into True the Vote. So all of this right now are allegations. But they're very interesting allegations, and let's dive into them. So now, the complaint claims that True the Vote may have violated state and federal laws when they used donations. By the way, they're supposed to be a charitable organization, used donations to issue loans to the people running the organization. Engelbrecht, its founder, and lucrative contracts to its longtime director, Gregg Phillips. Now, Texas law states directors of nonprofits cannot receive loans from their own organizations. Engelbrecht, who was a director and an employee at the time, regularly received loans from the so-called nonprofit, ranging from about $40,000 to $113,000, according to various tax filings, on top of earning a salary. But it's a nonprofit, guys. Nonprofit. Okay. Now, Phillips, who first joined True the Vote as a board member back in 2014, received at least $750,000 related to a so-called research analysis contract, the details of which we don't have any idea. What did they do with the money? What kind of research were they doing? That's an open question, and one that we don't have any answers to. And the reason, of course, that we're able to ask these questions is because since it is a nonprofit, we're supposed to see this data. We're supposed to see where the money is going and what it's being used for. There's supposed to be a little bit of transparency when it comes to these organizations and their spending through their tax filings. And this group apparently not keeping good track. For whatever reason. So now there's more. The organization had also failed to disclose, according to the complaint, payments to insiders in its tax returns, including excessive legal bills paid to its general counsel at the time, who filed election-related lawsuits in 4 states. Their lawyer, former lawyer, who is now, by the way, suing them, James Bopp Jr., was paid approximately $280,000 over a 7-day period related to filing and supervising attorneys on election-related lawsuits to challenge the results in key states, according to court records. There were 7 lawsuits planned. Bopp only filed 4 and quickly withdrew them. And so, all that money, $280,000 for lawsuits that actually really didn't happen. Kind of sketchy. What's going on here? Again, as I mentioned, he is suing True the Vote for breach of contract for nearly $1 million in unpaid legal bills dating back several years, according to court records obtained by ProPublica. True the Vote has countersued Bopp's law firm, denying unpaid invoices and accusing it of engaging in, quote, fraud and substandard lawyering. Your lawyering is substandard. Weird. Now, let's go to the tax returns, because I think that's one of the most interesting parts here. So now, in 2019, one of their tax returns got flagged for being weird. Super weird. In fact, there were 2 different tax returns for the same year. The organization had apparently given a reporter and the IRS 2 completely different forms. I mean, not 2 completely different forms, but the same form filled out 2 completely different ways. Now, the organization says, oh no, we made a mistake. We're going to amend that. It is 2023, and so far, it has not been amended. It has not been corrected. There is no information here that has been updated. Now, True the Vote also did not report Bop's legal contract, again, over $280,000, and the alleged, apparently up to $1 million that he was owed in their tax returns. Now, that is required for contracts above $100,000. This was a legal contract for legal services, apparently, or allegedly rendered. I don't know, it's looking a little weird. It's looking a little weird. Such disclosure lapses, they say, heighten suspicion regarding whether True the Vote or its current or former officers and directors intended to conceal the payments from the public or IRS, the complaint says. Ms. Engelbrecht, as president of True the Vote, appears to have voluntarily and intentionally filed a false, incorrect, and incomplete Form 990. Oh, but, well, they would never do that, would they? Oh, no, I mean, doing any sort of kind of financial fraud or trying to hide money, any kind of grift. I mean, who would do such a thing? I mean, this group is supposed to stand up for the integrity of American democracy, working with stand-up folks like Dinesh D'Souza, who, by the way, had featured their work very heavily in his film 2000 Mules. Oh, what's that? Oh, D'Souza. Convicted of making illegal campaign contributions, doing his own kind of fraud, until he was pardoned by Trump, who then, again, also makes false election fraud claims. Now, okay. So here's the thing. D'Souza, Trump, and True the Vote make all these wild claims. And yet, when it comes to court, they can never seem to present all the massive amounts of evidence that they claim that they purport to have in a court of law. They never seem to be able to present that information. Weird. It's because, there is no actual evidence. But hey, just saying so apparently works really, really well at separating the rubes from their money. And that's all this, it's what it is. This entire election fraud narrative whips up right-wingers who cannot fathom that sometimes they lose elections. And, some of those people will open up their wallets to grifters. On the right, I've called it a target-rich environment. A lot of people willing to give up their money to scammers. Look, they gave Trump millions of dollars for so-called election defense, which went into his pocket, of course. They gave Kari Lake millions of dollars to challenge the election in Arizona. She lost every single case. In Arizona also, the cyber ninjas were paid with taxpayer money to audit the election. Guess what they found? No fraud. Weird. Weird how that works out. Huh. But here's the thing. Despite all this massive amount of evidence that there is no election fraud, no mass voter fraud, or anything like that, MAGA doesn't care. They're in an alternative reality. That said, a lot of these people that are running these organizations, they're in that reality. But when it comes to the court, when it comes to taking their claims to court, or in a sort of the legal system, they have to operate in reality. And that's it. And by the way, if you don't operate in reality, you can get in legal trouble. You can get into legal trouble. In fact, a Georgia voter sued the pair and D'Souza for defamation because he said he was wrongfully accused of committing voter fraud. State investigation into that case found that the voter was dropping off ballots for himself and family members. That happens to be illegal. So, no, he was not a paid mule of George Soros or whatever nonsense that they believe. The organization also got in trouble after failing to produce any evidence of voter fraud in Arizona when former Arizona Attorney General Mark Brnovich asked for it in 2022. He's like, okay, you're making some claims here, and so why don't you give us some information to back it up? Any sort of evidence, please give us evidence. And they had nothing. They didn't give over any evidence because they didn't have any evidence that could stand up to scrutiny. That's it. It's just vague innuendo, edited YouTube videos, and weirdo claims. That's it. So now, as far as True the Vote is concerned, it looks like there's quite a bit of stuff that, you might want to look into. I, for one, would not be surprised if any of this turns out to be true, having another conservative group get caught up in the grift. But wait, there's more. Turns out it might even be worse. There's more grift, even more grift. In January, ProPublica and the Dallas Morning News reported that Engelbrecht and Phillips had created yet another charitable organization called the Freedom Hospital. Oh, so now what is this? Well, apparently the aims are pretty good. It said that they're going to help children and elderly people affected by the war in Ukraine get medical care. Now, that would be a great organization, be a great thing to do. It turns out, though, that it never happened. The website for this charity has since been taken down, but it claimed to have raised halfway to $25 million for a mobile hospital. Wow, that's a lot of money. Wow. Well, it'd be great, except that, it doesn't seem to be real. Attorneys for Engelbrecht and Phillips claim that, the clients, well, they only raised not, $12.5 million, but they actually raised about $268. Wait. So your goal was $25 million. You claim to have been half that. And then the attorneys come out and say, actually, you raised only about $268. Now, lawyers said that donations were returned at Mr. Phillips' direction. So let's just look at the numbers for a second. So as I mentioned, half of 25 million is 12.5 million. Now, that's a lot more than the $268 raised through PayPal. What happened to the rest of the alleged $12,499,732? Where is it? Either they lied about raising that much money, or they stole it. Now, I would actually think that it's more, personally, I think it's more of a lie. Because I don't know if there's a lot of right-wingers out there that actually would care about helping people get health care. That's just my personal opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm being too unfair, especially for, people in Ukraine. Conservatives actually caring about them because, to be fair, there are conservatives out there that are like, well, obviously, yes, I do care about people in Ukraine, and oppose the Russian invasion. But then, of course, there's a lot of right-wingers that are very, very pro-Russia for some reason. That said, I don't know what happened. This is going to have to be, looked into, investigated, and we'll see what happens. Again, these are allegations. I do think they warrant a fair investigation. But if they are true, or if some of them happen to be true, well, it wouldn't surprise me. It would be yet another right-wing group abusing the idea of a nonprofit organization and using it to personally enrich themselves, while, ironically, pretending to fight for integrity. Apparently, if this is true, they don't seem to understand what the word integrity actually means.